This is Joe Wayne with the Anti-COINTELPRO Show and InstinctForSurvival.com with a friendly reminder. Don't forget to hit the bell. That's right, folks. If you're wondering why you're never getting those new video notifications from the Anti-COINTELPRO Show that I upload numerous every single solitary day, it's because you forgot to hit the bell. The bell I'm referring to is that little Google bell right beside the subscribe button. So right after you hit the subscribe, don't forget to hit the bell. And when you hit the bell, you will receive the daily new video notifications from the Anti-COINTELPRO Show and InstinctForSurvival.com. This is Joe Wayne. Good day. And enjoy your video.
For example, last year, 11.8% of their applicants were African American, 11.8% were Hispanic. That number has remained the same. It's about 20% Asian. That has remained roughly the same over 20 years as the population of college-age Asian applicants has doubled. So there's no argument, no reasonable argument against the fact that they have a quota system as they did against Jews in the 20s. And you're defending that.
Well,
Why?
Tucker, they don't have a quota system. First of all, it is unconstitutional. But secondly, when I was at Harvard, the percentage of Asian Americans was about 16 to 17%. Today it's 21%. So it's actually increased by 30% just since the time that I graduated. So it can't possibly be a quota system unless the quota numbers are changing, and then it can't be a quota system.
Unless the applicant pool has doubled, which it has. It's doubled. And that number has not doubled, as you know. And by the way, the numbers for other racial groups have remained constant because there is a quota system. Everybody's aware of it. Let me read you a quote from a man who does this for a living. His name is Brian Taylor. He runs a business that helps Asian students get into elite colleges. He said this to the Boston Globe last year. He said, "We will make them, the Asian applicants, appear less Asian when they apply." Now, why would he do that? He does that because colleges don't want too many Asians. And you know this really well. And yet you're defending it. I don't understand that at all. They're discriminating against Asians. They're open about it. Everybody knows it. And yet that's okay because why?
Well, like I said, you know, there isn't a quota system because the numbers have actually increased. And I believe they've actually increased for
not proportional
Latino
to the increase in applications.
Well.
No, actually
you're right about that. But, you know, Tucker, that is a whole other segment worth exploring about this arms race of parents trying to get their kids into schools and applying to far more colleges now than they did before. So the population has not doubled, but the number of applications that are being sent out has. And colleges like this because it boosts their numbers. Makes them seem more selective.
That's actually, let me correct you there. The population has grown dramatically, and when you add the international applicants, it's not just people pushing Harvard on the Common App. It's people who are qualified to go to Harvard with 800 SAT scores and straight A's and head of student council who are not getting in because of their race. Now, I mean, you haven't addressed this, though. If college counselors are counseling their students to pretend they're not Asian, and they do this for a living, they have no incentive to lie about it, you've got discrimination going on. And you're pretending it's not there for some weird ideological reason. And what is that weird ideological reason exactly? Because racism has taken place in America in years past?
I think these are anecdotal. I certainly put down that I was Asian when I applied to Harvard. I got in. As an Harvard admissions interviewer, most of the students that I've interviewed who have gotten in have been Asian. So, you know, from my own personal experience, I haven't seen that. But I think the reason why some people might do that is because there is so much divisiveness where people are being told that, okay, if you are Asian, you're being discriminated against, and there are consultants who will make money off of, you know, the desire of parents to give their children the best opportunity to get into college. And
it's the parents'
and maybe they believe that will heighten their chances. But I don't think it will.
Because when Princeton University, in a study that I think we both accept is real, says that you need to score 540 points higher than other students in order to have the same chance of getting in, I think it's a rational conclusion to believe that there's discrimination going on. Let me ask you one last question. You noted a bunch of painful periods of American history. Both of us abhor them. So the Japanese internment, slavery, Jim Crow, we all agree those are bad. Why are they bad? They're bad because they're examples of people in power hurting American citizens based on their race. How is that different from what Harvard is doing?
Well, Tucker, a lot of people will say that affirmative action in which African-American and Latino students who are given admission over Asian students who have higher scores, they say that that's reverse discrimination. So then what do we say about the 60% of white students at Harvard who also are getting into Harvard despite having significantly lower scores than Asians?
That's bad.
You know,
I mean, I'm not here to defend that. I believe in the meritocracy. I asked you a simple question.
So
is it okay to discriminate against people on the basis of their race?
So why are we focusing on the 22% versus the 60%?
Well, because the numbers are so... I'll tell you exactly why. Because it is the hardest position to be in as an Asian student of all categories. If you are an Asian girl, it's harder to get into these colleges than if you're anyone else. And so we're picking the worst example. I could pick many examples, but my question remains the same, which is it okay to discriminate on the basis of race? I was raised to believe it's not. You apparently think it is. Is it?
No, I think that we have to recognize that we don't live in a vacuum and that racial discrimination still exists, and that we have to account for the fact that some people have a head start. And if you're going to advocate for a race-neutral policy, you're basically reinforcing the head start that some people already have.
Wait,
and
so you're saying
action is imperfect, but you know it's needed. It's part of the solution.
Is it racial discrimination to not let somebody into college based on his race? Can we just agree on that? Is it?
If that is the sole criteria that someone is not admitted into a college, then there would be something wrong with that, but that's just not the way that colleges work. They are not admitting students based solely on race. There are other factors that are involved. And, you know, I've talked about a lot of others that have benefited people, such as legacies, such as whether or not you went to a private school, if you're from the Northeast. And there are a lot of advantages.
Those are non sequiturs. I mean, you're diverting from the question. And it's just, and you know that you don't have an answer to this. But if racial discrimination is wrong, and I believe it is, then it's just wrong. I mean, there's a moral element here, I think, right?
I agree that racial discrimination is wrong, but to say that you're starting off from a clean slate as an applicant when, you know, if you are a Mexican-American student and you're worried that your parents might get deported by the next president, you know, you have a significantly different experience than
you know what?
a Caucasian
Can I just say something really clear? Children are not responsible for the sins of previous ages, okay? No 18-year-old Asian or black or Hispanic kid is responsible for slavery or Jim Crow or the sins of America. I'm sorry. And to punish them for those things is grotesque. You would agree with that, right?
I would agree with that, but then why do bad things seem to happen disproportionately to these races that were subjected to racism in the past? You want to say that racism doesn't exist, but
well, of course I'm not.
I'm saying
that you're committing racism is what I'm saying.
Is because, you know, African Americans are being, you know, killed, even if they're not armed. I mean, this is something that's happening.
I wouldn't disagree with you. I'm just saying the answer is not more racism. I guess that's the point. This may be going in circles. Jay, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.